I remember the exact moment my world split in two. It wasn't loud. There was no shouting, no breaking glass, just a quiet, ordinary afternoon and a message that shouldn't have existed. A message that made my hands go cold and my chest tighten in a way I had never felt before. But to understand that moment, you need to understand him, my grandson Ayan, and the daughter who walked away from him. Ayan was 5 years old when my daughter left. He didn't cry when she closed the door behind her. That was the first thing that broke me. Most children would have screamed, begged, chased after their mother. But Ayan, he just stood there in the hallway, his small fingers curled around the edge of his shirt, his eyes fixed on the door like he was waiting for it to correct itself, like it had made a mistake. He was diagnosed with autism when he was 3. Not the kind people romanticize online, the quirky genius kind. Ayan struggled. He avoided eye contact, spoke in fragments, and found the world overwhelming in ways I could never fully understand. Sudden noises made him shut down. Changes in routine could send him spiraling into hours of silence. But he was gentle, unbelievably gentle. He would line up his toy cars in perfect symmetry, spending hours adjusting them by millimeters, as if the world made more sense when everything stayed exactly where it belonged. And when he trusted you, really trusted you, he'd press, his forehead lightly against yours. That was his way of saying, I feel safe. My daughter used to be his safe place. At least, I thought she was. Her name is Sana. Growing up, she was the kind of child who clung to me during thunderstorms and cried over injured birds. She used to say she wanted to be a mother more than anything else. I believed her. When Ayan was born, she held him like he was made of glass, terrified of doing something wrong, but full of love. For the first couple of years, she tried. She really did. Doctor appointments, therapy sessions, sleepless nights. I saw the effort. But slowly something changed. It wasn't sudden. That's what made it so easy to ignore at first. She started missing appointments. Just small ones. I forgot, she'd say, brushing it off with a tired smile. Then she began complaining more about how exhausting it was, how unfair life felt. She compared herself to her friends constantly. They get normal kids, she once said, her voice cracking. Why didn't I? I didn't know how to answer that. So I stayed quiet. Looking back, that was my first mistake. The day she left, she didn't take much. Just a suitcase and her phone. No long explanation. No emotional goodbye. I can't do this anymore, she said, standing by the door, avoiding my eyes. I need a life too. Ayan was sitting on the floor behind her, spinning the wheel of a toy truck, completely absorbed. Or maybe pretending to be. You have a life, I told her, my voice shaking. He's your son. She flinched slightly at that. For a second, I thought. I saw guilt flicker across her face. But it vanished just as quickly. He deserves someone better, she whispered. Someone who won't feel trapped. Then she left. And just like that, the house felt too big, too quiet, too empty. Raising Ayan wasn't easy. I won't pretend it was. There were nights he didn't sleep at all, pacing the hallway for hours. Days when he refused to eat anything but plain rice. Moments when the smallest change, a moved chair, a different cup, would send him into a shutdown, so deep it felt like he had disappeared entirely. But there were also moments of light. Small ones, fragile ones. Like the first time he looked directly into my eyes and said, Dada, stay. Or the way he'd sit beside me in silence, his shoulder barely touching mine, as if that tiny connection meant everything. I built my life around him. We created routines, safe patterns. Breakfast at exactly 8 ow, walks in the park at 5:30. The same bedtime story every night, even though he never responded to it. Not once. But I knew he was listening. I could feel it. When he turned 10, something unexpected happened. He discovered computers. It started with an old laptop someone had given me. Slow, outdated, barely functional. I thought he'd lose interest after a few minutes. He didn't. He sat there for hours, completely still, exploring things I couldn't even begin to understand. Lines of code, strange symbols, endless curiosity pouring out of him in a way I had never seen before. For the first time, the world didn't overwhelm him. It made sense. He didn't talk much, but he started typing, communicating in short, precise sentences. Logic is safe, he wrote once. I didn't fully understand what he meant, but I knew it mattered. Years passed. Ayan grew, but he remained different. quiet, reserved. His world was still small, but within that world, he was building something. I just didn't know what. He worked late into the night, his screen glowing in the dark, his fingers moving with a kind of quiet urgency. I never pushed him, never asked too many questions. Trust was fragile with him, and I wasn't going to break it. Then, one evening, everything changed. He was 17. I was in the kitchen when he walked in, holding his laptop. His hands were trembling slightly, not from fear, but from something else. Something I had rarely seen in him. Excitement. Dada, he said. Just that one word, but it stopped me in my tracks. He turned the screen toward me. I didn't understand most of what I saw. Interfaces, numbers, graphs. But one thing was clear. People were using it. A lot of people. "What is this?" I asked softly. He hesitated, searching for the right words. "An app," he said finally. "It helps people like me to communicate." I stared at him, my heart tightening. "You made this?" He nodded. I didn't realize I was crying until he reached out, hesitantly, and pressed his forehead against mine. That same gesture from years ago, "I feel safe." That same gesture from years ago, "I feel safe." The app grew faster than either of us expected. Within months, it was being downloaded across countries. Therapists recommended it. Parents praised it. Messages poured in from people whose lives had changed because of something. Ayan created in silence, in isolation, in a world most people never bothered to understand. Then came the offers. Emails, calls, numbers that didn't feel real. And one day, a figure was placed in front of us. $5.6 million. I couldn't even process it. But Ayan didn't react the way I expected. He just sat there, staring at the screen, his expression unreadable. "Dada," he said quietly. "Will this change things?" I didn't know what he meant at the time, so I gave him the only answer I could. "No," I said, "not the things that matter." I wish I had been right, because 3 days later, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something, some instinct I couldn't explain, made me answer. "Hello?" There was silence on the other end. Then a voice I hadn't heard in over a decade. Soft, familiar, carefully controlled. "Dad?" My heart stopped. "Sana," after all these years. And the way she said that one word, it didn't sound like guilt. It didn't sound like regret. It sounded like she had been waiting, watching. And then she said something that made my blood run cold. "I think it's time we talk about Ayan and what's his." The moment she said that, something inside me shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like a door closing somewhere deep in my chest. I didn't answer her right away. For a few seconds, all I could hear was my own breathing and the faint clicking of Ayan's keyboard from the next room. That steady, rhythmic sound that had become the heartbeat of our home. "You don't get to say his name like that," I finally said. There was a pause. Then she sighed, soft and practiced, like someone stepping into a role they'd rehearsed. "I know you're upset." "Upset?" I let out a dry, hollow laugh. "You disappeared for 12 years. Sana, 12, and now you call me out of nowhere and talk about what's his?" Her tone tightened slightly, but she didn't raise her voice. "I've been thinking about him." "No," I said firmly. "You've been thinking about this." I didn't need to explain what this meant. The app, the money, the sudden attention. Silence again. But this time, it felt heavier. "I want to see him," she said finally. The words landed differently than I expected. Not sharp, not emotional. Calculated. Like a move in a game I didn't realize we were playing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in the living room long after the lights were off, staring at the faint glow coming from under Ayan's door. He was still awake. Still working. Still building something I probably wouldn't understand even if I tried. I thought about calling her back. About saying no. About protecting him the way I always had. But another thought kept creeping in. One I couldn't ignore. What if he wanted to see her? What if somewhere deep inside, that 5-year-old boy was still standing in the hallway, waiting for the door to open again? The next morning I told him, carefully, slowly. I didn't say her name at first. I just sat beside him as he worked, waiting for the right moment. With Ayan, timing mattered more than words. "There's someone who called yesterday," I said. His fingers paused. Not for long. Just a second. But I noticed. They want to see you. No response. Just the soft hum of the laptop. I swallowed. It's your mother. That did it. His hands froze completely this time. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of thoughts, of memories, of things he had never said out loud. I didn't rush him, didn't push. I had learned that much over the years. After what felt like forever, he spoke. When? One word, flat, controlled. But underneath it, something was shifting. She didn't say, I replied gently. I told her I'd talk to you first. He nodded once, then closed his laptop. That alone told me how serious this was. Ian never closed his laptop in the middle of something. Okay, he said, just like that. No questions, no hesitation, just okay. She chose a cafe, not our home, not a private place, a public neutral space where everything could look normal. That should have been another red flag, but I ignored it. For him, when we arrived, she was already there. I recognized her instantly, but she wasn't the same. Her clothes were more polished, her posture more confident. Even the way she held her phone, it all felt curated, like she had rebuilt herself into someone else entirely, someone who didn't have a past. But I remembered. I remembered everything. She stood up when she saw us. Her eyes went straight to Ian, and for a moment, just a moment, her composure cracked. Ian, she whispered. He didn't move closer, didn't speak. He just looked at her, really looked at her, like he was trying to match this person with a memory that no longer fit. She hesitated, then smiled softly. You've grown so much. No response. I stepped in. We won't stay long, I said. She nodded quickly. Of course. I understand. But the way her eyes flicked between us, the way her fingers tapped lightly against the table, she wasn't as calm as she wanted to seem. We sat down. The silence stretched, uncomfortable, uneven. Then she leaned forward slightly, her voice gentle, almost careful. I followed your work, she said, looking at Ian. The app, it's incredible. Ian didn't react, didn't even blink. I mean it, she continued. You've done something amazing. Still nothing. But I noticed his hand, resting on the table, tighten just slightly. You don't have to say anything, she added quickly. I wanted to see you. To be here. That word again? Here. As if showing up now could somehow rewrite everything that came before. The conversation moved slowly after that. Or rather, she talked. About where she'd been, what she'd done, how she had needed time to figure herself out. She never said sorry. Not once. And that bothered me more than anything else. Ian stayed quiet, listening, observing, processing. That was always his way. But then, something changed. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folder, neatly organized, crisp edges, prepared. My chest tightened. I didn't come here just to talk, she said softly. There it was. The truth finally stepping out from behind the mask. I've spoken to some people, she continued. Advisors, legal experts. Just to understand things better, I felt a cold weight settle in my stomach. Sana, I warned quietly. But she kept going. I'm his mother, she said, her voice steady now. And I think it's important we start discussing his future, properly. Ayan's gaze shifted, from her to the folder, then back to her. Slowly, deliberately. For the first time since we arrived, he spoke. What is that? His voice was calm. Too calm. She smiled, small, reassuring. Just something to help us move forward, she said. Together. Together. The word echoed in my mind like something hollow, because nothing about this felt like together. It felt like timing, like strategy, like she had waited until the exact moment it would matter most. And then, Ian did something I didn't expect. He reached for the folder. My heart jumped. Ian, I started, but he didn't look at me. He opened it, carefully, silently. His eyes moved across the pages, scanning every line with that same quiet intensity he used when reading code. Seconds passed. Then a minute. The cafe noise faded into the background. It was just us. and whatever was written on those pages. Finally, he closed it, gently, placed it back on the table. Then he looked at her. Not like a child, not like someone confused or overwhelmed, but with a clarity, a stillness that made even me uneasy. "You left," he said. Simple, direct, no emotion in the words themselves, but everything was there underneath. She inhaled slowly. "I know, and I want to make that right." "No," he interrupted. "Just one word." But it stopped her completely. "You left," he repeated. "And now, you came back." A pause. Not long, just enough for this. He tapped the folder lightly. Her expression flickered. Just for a second. But it was enough. I saw it. The crack in the performance. The truth slipping through. And then she said something that made the air between us turn sharp. "I came back because I have a right to be here." Ayan didn't respond immediately. He just looked at her. Then slowly, he turned his head toward me, and in that moment, I saw something I had never seen in him before. Not confusion, not fear, not even sadness. It was something colder, something certain, like a decision had already been made. Long before she ever walked back into our lives, he turned back to her, opened his mouth. And that's when I realized whatever he was about to say was going to change everything.